Hey, welcome to a special Nerd of Steel video. Today we're going to be talking about this superhero right here. Let me explain what's going on. In the title description, you probably guessed what this video is about. Basically, this video is about wasted potential of superhero characters that were created. And what I mean by that is superheroes that have interesting concepts or had concepts and were made but just weren't utilized and are not very popular now. Now, I'm not saying that the heroes have to be absolutely not popular. I just mean like they're not as popular as say they could be, or maybe they just weren't handled right in my opinion. Now, let's talk about this guy right here. This guy right here is the Green Lantern from the New 52 comics, and his name is Simon Baz. And here's the thing about this guy, okay? He is a very, very special Green Lantern, and I'm not talking about like who he is as a person. I'm talking about why he exists as a Green Lantern. Alright? So, you got Hal Jordan and Sinestro, and they're fighting, and then all of a sudden they basically die. Now, they're not actually dead. They're just brought to like the realm of the dead or something like that. And so the rings are left behind, and the rings kind of fuse. They turn into one ring, and they go to find a person on Earth that fits the personality, because apparently in the New 52, Green Lantern rings fly to an owner that has the personality similar to its previous owner. And so a fusion of Sinestro and Hal Jordan ends up being this guy right here. And he looks kind of like a luchador with that mask, I'm not going to lie. But he's not. He's Lebanese Arab American, born in, I think it's like Iowa or Michigan or something like that. And his thing is that he's quite intelligent. He's kind of got street smarts. And he's had a kind of rough life. He's been judged mainly, like, I know this sounds a little cliche, but he's a Muslim, and he was about 10 years old when 9/11 happened. But ever since then, people have been jumping to conclusions and whatnot. And when he's first introduced into the story, people pretty much think he's a terrorist, and he's not. He's not a good guy in the sense that he stole a van, but how was he supposed to know there was a bomb on it, you know? But yeah, and all this it's really interesting storytelling in the sense that you got this guy who has a rough life. He ends up getting a Green Lantern ring. You can't tell if he's a good guy, a bad guy. You know, you don't really know exactly too much about him. But then he gets the ring that has the amalgam personality choice of Sinestro and Hal Jordan. So it's like automatically, who is this guy, right? So here's what I think is kind of where I think they went wrong in DC with this guy. They created him, and they had a concept. They said, we want to make the first Muslim Green Lantern. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. But they didn't think of many stories for him. They just had the concept. It's kind of like saying, I want to make another Kryptonian, but I don't have any idea for what villains I want to make. I don't have any idea what stories I want to put him in or her. And so, you know, they had like a basic format. They want to put him in the first story. They're going to introduce him, and then he'll join the Justice League of America, right? And so he has his first story, and it's a good story. He's very smart, very genius, and it kind of drags on. I don't know what the deal with that is. Maybe they had like issues and coming out with issues of the story or whatnot. But Justice League of America shows up, and he's not in it, right? He's on the front cover of like issue number 1, but basic gist is he's off fighting these dudes right here, and but yeah, he's on the first cover of Justice League of America issue number 1, but he's nowhere to be found because he's off in outer space. And it's kind of sad, right? And when he does show up in the Justice League of America, what ends up happening is that he literally is just a background character. He's not really there to be the main focus of the story. In fact, most of the characters are just background characters. The only main characters I would say in this story, like, yeah, all the other characters in the story, they have a little bit of a role to play. Catwoman, she has a little bit of a role to play. She doesn't even appear till like issue number 3. So Green Lantern, I mean not Green Lantern, Green Arrow. There, he doesn't show up until like issue number 2 or so. But like the real main character of this series is Amanda Waller and Steve Trevor. The rest of the heroes are just kind of pawns, I suppose you could say. But yeah, he doesn't really show up till like way later. And even then, he's not really that important. At least I feel so. So like then you go on later on down the line, and he, you don't really hear about him. All the focus is on everything else that's happening in the DC universe, and his story isn't very important, I suppose you could say, in the overall thing. In fact, it kind of gets to the point that they end up making like another Green Lantern. I think her name is it's something Cruz, but she ends up getting a Green Lantern ring, and she really becomes the main focus of the Green Lantern story arc from there on. So it's kind of like pushing him to the side. He's the sidekick to another Green Lantern, and it's like, why are you gonna create this character if you're literally just gonna make him like just a background character, another character in another story? Why not create interesting stories? But so there, and that's not it. That's not all it. There are other problems, but let's talk about a couple of interesting things real quick. A really good, interesting thing about this guy right here, and you probably saw in the first image, is that he carries a gun. It's really cool. And the way they introduce this, it's like in one of the first issues of him being a Green Lantern. He finds out very quickly the main flaw of Green Lantern rings. They run out of power. Really quickly, too. Green Lanterns always have to manage their energy in the ring like it's a freaking D battery or a AA battery in a Game Boy or something like that. They don't have much power and they got to manage it. And so he's like, well, what am I going to do when I run out of power? And they're like, well, you're going to die, I guess. So he carries a gun. It's like, an alien goes to attack him. He has no power, no nothing. And they're like, most of the Green Lanterns that encounter these aliens, they just die, right? He has no power or nothing. And know what he does? He shoots it. He shoots it and it dies. So, it's kind of really cool, really interesting fact. It's like his logic is that you can't rely solely on your Green Lantern ring. You got to have faith in yourself as well. And it's always good to have a backup plan, Green Lantern ring's not going to have all the power, it's okay to carry multiple weapons, But, and besides, it's like most people, I imagine, the military, they carry guns, but they probably got a knife on them too, Knife's not going to be good in a gunfight, but if you get up close, you might need it, But yeah, so what does DC do about this? Well, in a certain issue, they're complaining about his gun. Commissioner Gordon's like, why do you got a gun on you? And, he's basically like, well, I have it just in case I run out of power. It's a plan B, why not? And, he even like yells at Batman, and he's like, it's really kind of stupid, that you got a tank, you got flamethrowers, you got all the gadgets in the world, and you're worried about a stupid gun. And I mean, to be fair, it's kind of like this. The Green Lantern ring is literally the most dangerous weapon in the entire galaxy. But no, his gun. That's what's scary, you know. And I find that kind of hilarious. But through a story arc or whatnot, he's fighting Scarecrow, and Batman's like, "Don't you dare use your gun. You could actually kill him." And it's like, "Oh no, killing villains? Who would have thought?" But he ends up like using his willpower and using the ring to beat up Scarecrow instead, which is perfectly acceptable. You got a weapon, use it. The ring happens to be a better weapon than the gun. Why not? I mean, Scarecrow used fear toxin, so obviously his power is weaker. And you would think logically, if you for some reason feel like your willpower is fading and fear is overcoming you, why not have a gun as a backup plan? A lot of Green Lanterns end up dying because they succumb to fear. They don't have backup plans. That was part of the problem with the Sinestro War. Most of the Green Lanterns just got wiped out because, fear overcome them. They didn't have anything else to fight against them. It was like, it was like fighting with an arm behind your back. So it's kind of good to have a backup plan. I mean, not to say a gun would do anything against the Yellow Lantern, but, it's the thought, Plus, sometimes people feel more powerful with guns. I mean, I feel like if you have a gun, that would kind of make you feel less afraid, right? Even if it has no effect against whatever you're fighting, it would kind of make you feel more courageous, Or you could have trust in the ring you have, be like that and give that less fear, who knows. But anyway, so yeah. But he uses his ring, and so through that logic, he's like, the gun's holding me back. So in order to be as powerful as I can with the Green Lantern ring, here, take my gun, And, whatever. I feel like it's kind of stupid because he's like the only Green Lantern that carries a gun, and that's what separates him from the rest. You got Hal Jordan, this guy who's kind of basic, and he's just kind of able to get through situations. Guy Gardner, he's known as a klutz, You got freaking John Stewart, the military genius. Then you got freaking Kyle Rayner. He's an artist, and what separates Simon Baz? Well, he has a gun, But I was thinking about stories. What would be kind of a cool story for Simon Baz? And I was like, well, let's set him in like an area that wouldn't be normal for the DC universe. Well, let's use his Lebanese Arab kind of descent and be like, well, he goes across to his family's home country for whatever reason, because of war or whatnot, and solves the war over there. Or maybe he's visiting a holy place because he is a Muslim. Why not? There are kind of stories like that could be told about this guy. And there are actually quite a few stories that could be told about him. They could, for instance, well, not this, but they could give him new villains or whatnot. And the guy's incredibly clever, right? This picture right here, I wanted to use it to show exactly how clever he is. Before he even knew how to fly, or that he could fly, he had to escape from the Justice League, which is actually a really ingenious thing. I mean, who would have thought Green Lantern on the run from the Justice League? Then he outsmarts them by making a car drive off with the Green Lantern ring, but he's not in it, right? Because most people think, well, the car's got to have a driver, but it, obviously it doesn't. Anyway, but as far as like story arcs go, you got literally an entire universe that Green Lanterns go around, all kinds of ring colors, all kinds of options for new villains, because apparently he's supposed to be the new Hal Jordan, right? / Sinestro. And so he could literally fly around the entire universe, finding new threats or whatnot, and he's got his own way of dealing with problems. He's not necessarily the goody two shoes. He's willing to do things. He's willing to kill or this or that. And I was thinking, you know what? He is amalgam of Hal Jordan, yes, but he's also an amalgam of Sinestro. And so, what if, you know, this guy right here, Sinestro, were to partner up with him, kind of like lure him to the dark side? And, you know, that would be an interesting thing, because he might, Simon might think he's doing the right thing. He might not know that Sinestro is a bad guy, you know? And, I mean, obviously he's part of Sinestro Corps, but he could be on one of those phases where he's being a good guy. Who knows? But yeah, so, you know, there are all kinds of interesting stories they could do with this guy, but I personally don't know if they're gonna do too much with him. Maybe a good suggestion: put him in the Arrowverse. There's only like what one Green Lantern in the Arrowverse. Why not, since they've introduced Green Lanterns, maybe put him in the Arrowverse as another Green Lantern alongside the other one, which I'm not going to spoil. But, you know, that would be kind of interesting. You know, you got two people who kind of are very similar. You know, why not put them in a show together, you know? Anyway, if y'all enjoyed this video, hit the like button, give us comments, and kind of tell me what you think about this video, if you liked it, if you didn't, if you completely disagree with my opinion or analysis of this character, you know, let me know. If you feel like this was kind of a rambly video or incoherent, you know, let me know about that. I really need your input so I can make these videos. I want to start doing videos kind of like this, so that, you know, in the future I can have more than just game content. I could probably have smart content, kind of unique superhero stuff, because this channel is about all things nerds. Anyway, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and y'all have a great evening.